Welcome to the Bootstrap Mogul Podcast, where we bring you the grassroots tips, tricks, and stories in everything entrepreneurship, digital marketing, and personal development. I'm your host, Andres Holguin. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Bootstrap Mogul Podcast. I'm your host, Andres Holguin, here to help you navigate the exhilarating yet challenging world of entrepreneurship. Whether you're sipping your morning coffee or winding down after a productive day, I'm so thrilled to have you here. Now, today we're diving into a topic that's vital for anyone stepping into the freelance sphere, yet often overlooked until it's too late. Setting boundaries with clients. Now, why is this important? Well, as you embark on your freelance journey, your enthusiasm to grow your business and serve your clients might tempt you to say yes a little too often. It feels good to be needed, right? But without clear boundaries, that eagerness can lead to burnout, stress, and even resentment towards the very work you love. In this episode, we're going to explore how setting the right boundaries not only protects your time and energy, but also upholds the integrity of your business. I'll guide you through recognizing the need for these boundaries, what type of boundaries you should consider, and how to effectively implement and enforce them. So imagine this. You have control over your workload, you communicate effectively, and your clients respect your time and expertise. Sounds like a dream? Well, it's entirely possible, and by the end of this episode, you will have a clearer understanding of how to make this your reality. We'll talk about everything from managing project scopes to handling after-hours communication, all designed to help you build a sustainable and rewarding freelance business. So grab your notebook or just settle in as we delve into the art of setting boundaries that will transform the way you work and live. So let's dive right into the first segment of today's episode. If you've recently started your freelance journey or you are considering making that leap, you know there's a real buzz to getting that first client and the second, and suddenly you find yourself saying yes to just about everything. It's exhilarating, right? You feel unstoppable, like every new project is a step towards your dream career. But here's the thing. Saying yes too often can quickly lead to a common pitfall: overcommitment. So let's talk about why recognizing the need for boundaries early on is so crucial. When you start freelancing, it's tempting to operate without limits, often because you want to build your portfolio or because you fear that saying no might mean a lost opportunity. But without boundaries, that initial excitement can turn into a fast track to burnout. And you might find yourself working late into the night, skipping weekends, and feeling like you're always on. Imagine this scenario. It's 11 p.m. and you're still hunched over your laptop trying to finish a project that was only supposed to take a few hours. Your phone keeps buzzing with messages from another client who seems to forget that you might have a personal life too. Sounds familiar? It's a slippery slope, and here's what happens when you don't set boundaries. First and foremost, you risk burning out. And I'm not just talking about feeling a little tired. I mean the kind of exhaustion that makes it so hard to get out of bed in the morning and where your creativity and passion begin to wane because you're trying to keep up. When you're stretched too thin, the quality of your work can suffer. You might start missing details, making more mistakes, or producing work that just doesn't meet your own high standards. And trust me, your clients will notice. So if you're not careful, this can harm your reputation and affect your business in the long run. And then a lack of boundaries often leads to strained client relationships. When clients are used to reaching you at all hours, they begin to expect instant responses and can become pretty demanding. If you suddenly start setting limits, they might not take it well, which can lead to conflict or worse, losing a client. Now, I know what you might be thinking, but Andres, I'm trying to grow my business here. How can I afford to set boundaries? And the answer is you can't afford not to. Setting boundaries is not about turning down opportunities. It's about ensuring you're at your best for every project you take on. It's about maintaining a standard of quality and a level of professionalism that will actually attract more clients in the long run. Now, understanding your limits isn't just about knowing how much work you can handle, it's about recognizing the value of your time and your worth as a professional. It's about making sure you have time to recharge so you can keep those creative juices flowing and continue to deliver exceptional work that makes your clients come back for more. So, as we move forward in today's episode, keep this in mind. Boundaries are not a barrier. They are your best friend in the freelance world. They protect your energy, they uphold your business's integrity, and they ensure you can enjoy this wonderful freelance adventure you've embarked on without falling victim to its potential pitfalls. Now stay with me because next we're going to explore exactly what types of boundaries you might consider and how to start implementing them in your freelance business. In this next segment, we are going to get into the nitty-gritty of setting boundaries, specifically what types of boundaries you need to establish as a freelancer to maintain a healthy business and having a balanced life. We're talking about project boundaries, communication boundaries, and personal boundaries. So let's dive in. First up, project boundaries. These are crucial because they define the scope of what you will and will not do for a client. Have you ever started a project thinking it was just about one thing only to find out the client had expected so much more? Without clear boundaries, projects can quickly spiral out of control and you find yourself doing more work than planned or paid for. So here's what you can do. Define the scope of work clearly in your contracts. So whenever you take on a new project, outline exactly what your services will include and, just as importantly, what they won't include. This might mean specifying the number of revisions you'll provide, the types of tasks you're responsible for, and the deadlines for each phase of the project. Next, use clear contracts. Always have a written agreement that both you and your client sign before starting work. This contract should lay out all project details, payment terms, and what happens if the scope needs to change. A clear contract not only protects you, but it also sets clear expectations with your client, which can help avoid misunderstandings later on. Next, let's talk about communication boundaries. These are the guidelines you set about how and when you communicate with clients. Effective communication is key to a successful freelance business, but it doesn't mean you have to be available 24/7. So establish preferred communication channels. Let your clients know the best way to reach you. Is it through email, phone, a project management tool? Being specific helps to manage expectations and keep communication tidy and efficient. Then decide on the hours during which you are available for client calls and emails. For instance, you might be reachable from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday, or outside of these hours, you're off the clock. So make sure to communicate this clearly to your clients. And then always inform clients during the onboarding process about your communication practices. This can be a part of your welcome packet or your initial meetings. And if a client messages you outside of your working hours, don't feel pressure to respond immediately. Instead, reply during your next scheduled working time. And last, but certainly not least, personal boundaries. These are perhaps the most critical because they align with your values and ensure that the work you do is fulfilling and not draining. So, first off, saying no. You need to be comfortable turning down projects that don't align with your skills, interests, or values. Not every project or client is going to be right for you, and that's okay. Saying no frees up space for projects that are a better fit. Next, polite and professional declines. When you do say no, do it politely and professionally. A simple formula could be thanking the client for the offer, briefly explaining why you're not the right fit, and, if possible, referring them to another professional who may be better suited to their needs. Remember, setting these boundaries isn't just about protecting yourself, it's about building a professional business where clients respect your time, your expertise, and the quality of your work. And when done right, boundaries can lead to a healthier work environment and more satisfying client relationships. Now, as we wrap up this segment, take a moment to think about the areas in your freelance business where you might need better boundaries. Setting them now will help you avoid a lot of stress and confusion down the line. So stay tuned, because in our next segment, we're going to talk about how to implement and enforce these boundaries effectively. So we're moving into one of the most crucial parts of our discussion on setting boundaries: how to implement and enforce them. This is where the rubber meets the road and where you truly start to see the impact of good boundary setting on your freelance business. So let's get into it. Now, implementing boundaries from the start. The first step to effective boundary setting is to implement them from the very beginning of a client relationship. Here's how you can do that. So be clear and upfront. When you first meet with a potential client, be clear about how you work. This includes discussing your work process, your availability, and how you handle communications and revisions. Setting these expectations early helps prevent misunderstandings later on. Now, you can also use your onboarding process to reinforce your boundaries. So include a section in your welcome packet or contract that outlines your working hours, your preferred communication methods, and scope of work. Make it part of your standard procedure so every client gets the same information upfront. And then when discussing boundaries, use clear and simple language. Avoid jargon or overly technical terms that might confuse them. You want to ensure that your client understands exactly what you mean, so there's no room for interpretation. Now, next, you need to communicate your boundaries in a way that is both clear and assertive. So here's how you can achieve that. First, assertiveness training. Consider taking a course in assertiveness training if you find it difficult to express your needs. Learning how to be assertive can help you communicate your boundaries without coming across as aggressive or defensive. Next, practice your script. Before you talk to your clients about boundaries, practice what you're going to say. This can help you feel more confident and ensure your message is clear. Be positive and firm. So when you communicate your boundaries, do so positively and firmly. For example, you might say, I'm available for calls between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. Scheduling our meetings during these times helps me deliver the best quality of work for you. And then handling pushback. Finally, let's talk about handling pushback. Sometimes, despite your best efforts, a client may test your boundaries. And here's how you can handle that. So, if a client tries to call you at 8 p.m. or asks for a 7th revision when you've clearly stated you'd only do 3, stay calm. Politely but firmly reiterate your boundaries. You might say, as per our agreement, I'm available until 5 p.m. and we have reached the limit of revisions included in your package. Now, if a client is pushing back because they need more from you, try to offer solutions that work within your boundaries. For example, if they need more revisions, you could offer to do them for an additional fee. And in some cases, if a client continually disrespects your boundaries, it may be time to consider ending the relationship. Remember, not all clients are the right fit, and maintaining a professional environment is crucial for your business's health and your well-being. Implementing and enforcing boundaries might seem tough at first, but remember, they're essential for your success and sanity as a freelancer. They help you work better, not just harder, and they're key to building a sustainable and respectful business relationship with your clients. Now stay tuned, because coming up next, we'll explore the long-term benefits of having well-established boundaries and how they contribute to a fulfilling career. Now, as we wrap up today's episode on setting boundaries in your freelance career, I want to focus on the long-term benefits these boundaries bring to your life and your work. Now, why are we doing all of this? Because boundaries aren't just about saying no, they're about saying yes to a more sustainable, fulfilling career. Setting boundaries is essential for sustainability in freelancing, because without boundaries, you risk burnout, which can lead to a short-lived career. But with boundaries, you maintain your energy and enthusiasm, which are crucial for long-term success. So by setting limits on your work hours and your workload, you protect your mental and physical health. This isn't just about avoiding too much work. It's about ensuring that you can keep working tomorrow, next week, and years from now. Now, boundaries also help you to control your work environment by limiting distractions. This means that you can focus more intensely during your designated work hours, increasing both the quantity and quality of your output. Now, quality work and strong client relationships are the backbones of any successful freelance business. And boundaries, they help you enhance both. So when you're not overextended, you actually have the time to pay attention to detail and produce the best work possible. This builds your reputation and leads to more referrals and repeat clients. And clear boundaries set a professional tone in your relationships. Clients respect you more when they see that you respect your own time and terms. This leads to healthier, more respectful interactions and long-term partnerships. Now, let me share a quick story. Early in my freelancing career, I found myself working late nights, weekends, constantly on call. It wasn't sustainable, and honestly, I wasn't happy. After setting strict work hours and communicating those to my clients, something amazing happened. Not only did my clients adjust, but my satisfaction in my work soared. I had time for family, hobbies, and even a little self-care. The quality of my work improved because I was rested and more focused during my work hours. Here's another example from a friend and fellow freelancer who decided to set strict boundaries around the types of projects she would accept. She focused on work that she was passionate about and that played to her strengths. The result? She increased her rates because she was offering expert level service in a niche she loved. Clients were happier because they received top-notch work and she doubled her income in a year, all because she set boundaries that aligned with her skills and passions. Now, these stories, they aren't unique. They reflect a common truth in the freelance world. And that is, setting boundaries leads to a better balance between work and personal life and significantly increases job satisfaction. When you know you have time set aside for both work and play, you feel more in control and less at the mercy of your business. Now, as we wrap up today's insightful journey into setting boundaries in your freelance career, I want to take a moment to recap the key points we've discussed. It's been a packed episode, and I truly hope you're walking away with actionable insights that will transform the way you manage your freelance business. So we started by recognizing the need for boundaries, understanding that without them, we're setting ourselves up for burnout and subpar work quality. Remember, your eagerness to grow your business is a strength, but without boundaries, it can quickly become a vulnerability. Next, we dove into the types of boundaries to set, from project boundaries that define the scope of your work, to communication boundaries that specify when and how clients can reach you, to personal boundaries that help you say no to projects that don't align with your passions or skills. We also covered how to implement and enforce these boundaries. We talked about the importance of being clear and upfront from the start of a client relationship, how to assertively communicate your boundaries, and how to handle pushback in a way that maintains professionalism and respect. And finally, we discussed the long-term benefits of setting boundaries. We shared personal stories that highlighted how proper boundaries contribute not just to a sustainable career, but a fulfilling one, enhancing both your work quality and your overall life satisfaction. Now, I want to encourage you to take action today, right after this podcast. Reflect on what boundaries you currently have in place and which ones you need to establish or strengthen. Remember, setting boundaries is not a one-time action. It's an ongoing process that evolves as your business grows and your personal life changes. So take that first step. Maybe it's drafting a new client contract that includes your updated boundaries, or perhaps it's having a conversation with a current client about communication times. Whatever it is, make a commitment to yourself to do it. Your future self will thank you for the peace of mind and the freedom it brings. Thank you so much for tuning into the Bootstrap Mogul podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, share it with a friend, or leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. I love hearing your thoughts and your success stories, so feel free to reach out through social media, and I can be found mostly on Instagram at Andres Does Business. Until next time, keep pushing the boundaries, literally. I'm Andres Holguin, and here's to your success in the exciting world of freelancing. Take care and thrive.